In this video, we are going to do problem 15.01, only dash shorts. All right, so I have the file download and open up in Racket. So let's just look for the problem statement here. So problem A, notice that the data design steps are done. All right, so we have list of string is one of either empty or cons string list of strings. We're dealing with self-reference here. It's a list of strings, and here's a template for that. All right, design the function only dash shorts that produces a list of string where the strings only of length 7 or less are kept. So here's an example they give us. Only dash shorts of cons cat, cons cowabung, cons monster, cons meow should produce cons cat, cons monster, and cons meow. Because this is, 8 long. So let me count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, 8 long. So we only want strings that are 7 or less. So cat is 3, so that's, less than 7. Monster is exactly 7, so we still want that. And meow is, 4 letters long, and it's less than 7. All right. So pause the video and try to do the how to design function steps 1 through 5 for the design of only shorts. Over spoilers in 3, 2, and 1. All right. I'm going to assume that you guys took a good swing at it. So now let's go over it together. So signature, only shorts consumes a list of string and produces a list of string. Preface produces a list of strings where the strings are 7 or less long, right? Produces the given list of strings where these strings are 7 or less long. It's a better description. So next to the stub, let's stub this out. So only shorts consumes a string list, and it produces a list of string. Let's just use empty as a dummy value to run against our tests. So let's write some examples here. So check expect only shorts of the empty list. Well, we should produce an empty list, right? Because we have to produce a list at the end of the day, a list of strings, and empty is one of, a list of strings. All right, let's do a list with 1 long, right? That gets rejected. All right. Let's do, cowabung, right? We established that this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 long, right? Whoops, this is a list of strings, not a string itself. So I have to wrap this cons around the cons, empty, all right? So this should produce an empty list, right? Because this is 8 long, and we only want to keep the strings that are 7 or less long, all right? Let's do one where we do keep it, right? So check expect. Only shorts. Let's do cons cat onto empty, like so, right? What should this produce? Well, since cat is 4 letters long and it's, less than 7, we should produce the list cons cat empty. All right, let's do some that are 2 length long. Only shorts, cons cat, and then cons cowabung empty. All right, so this should only produce cons cat empty, right? We don't want this cowabung in here. All right. Okay, let's do one that's 3 long. Why not? For the sake of writing more tests. So we're going to append monster in here. So we established that monster is 7 long, and yeah, we do want to keep it, right? It's at least 7 or less long, right? So 7 or less. So we're going to produce the list cons cat on the cons monster of empty, like so. And I spelled cowabung wrong, but cowabung. And let's make sure 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, okay, these are 8 long. All right. So let's get a good amount of tests. Let's run the examples against the stub here. It's just mismatches. Very good. Going to comment out the stub. And let's copy down the template that consumes a list of string and use it as a scaffold. And rename it like so. Okay. So pause the video and try to work through the solution for only shorts on your own. Hopefully this should be all the mental scaffolding needed to solve the problem. I'm over spoilers in 3, 2, and 1. All right, I'm assuming that you guys took a good swing at it. So now let's go over it together. So looking at our examples here, right? So only dash shorts of empty, right, should produce empty. So that's our base case. Okay. So now comes the hardest part, the combinator, right? So sometimes we want to include a string and, right, depending if there's 7 or less, and sometimes we don't. So there's some decision making going on here, right? So we're going to need an if as the combinator, all right? So if something is true, do something in the true case and then do something in the false case, all right? So what is this something, right? This something is where the strings are 7 or less long, right? So let's focus on this case, right? So only dash shorts of cons, cow, bung, empty, right? So how do we check if this, right? This is going to be the first of the string, right? String list. How do we check if this is 7 or less long? Well, we go look at things that consume strings in the documentation and, look through and read and see what you need. In this case, I know that we need first a string length, right? Because we need to know how long the string is, and string dash length does that job for us. Now we need to know if it's 7 or less long, all right? So we can wrap this, string length, which is going to produce a number, right, of how long the string is, and say, is it less than or equal to 7, all right? So now we have all the conditions here. So if it's 7 or less long, we want to keep it, right? We want to produce a list of strings, right? So let's focus on this case actually, right? So is cat 7 or less long? Yeah, it is. So we want to produce a list of strings. And the only way to produce lists right now is with cons. So we know that we need a cons here, right? What do we want in cons? Well, we want to keep, the cat, right? And we also want to keep monster in this other example. So we want to keep, when it cons, the first of the strings. So this would be cat. All right. So this would fulfill this example almost, but we going to keep going, right? What do you want to add cons to? Well, onto the rest of the list, because we want to keep looking, right? Because there might be more strings that are less than 7 long, like monster over here, right? So we have to do another recursive call to only shorts with the rest of the list, right? So like so, copy that there, and of course we just trust that only shorts fulfills the purpose statement like so. All right, so that's when we want to keep, strings that are 7 or less long. This is going to be the false case. Wait, what happens if the list is 7 or more, right? Not 7 or more, 7 more than 7, right? So 8 or 9 or 10, right? In this case, cowabung is 8. So what we want to do is we don't want to do anything, right? We just want to keep going through the list, keep looking through the list, right? Call only shorts with the rest of this list. Keep looking through the list until you hit the base case. Okie dokie, so let's just run this code and make sure it passes all our tests, and so they do. And of course, you can play around with this and do even more long or shorter examples where you insert, 7 or less strings in any position you want. This will work. All right. So the final step is to test, review, and refactor. So of course, we can write this in another way. So I'm going to copy this, paste it down here, and I'm going to comment out this first version. And as I said before, right, if you have an if branch inside conditions, right, in this else case, we can sort of put it in a branch over here, like so, and then take the true branch and paste it in. And then now we don't need this else, and we don't need this if, like so. You can hit Control I to reindent. It does the exact same thing, right? We run the tests against our code, exact same thing, just a different style. And it's up to you, and if you want, which one do you prefer? It's up to you, whichever one you like stylistically. All right, and submit this to Handin, check your score, right? Select 15.01, only shorts, and make sure it passes the grader tests. So you're free to step through this function with the stepper to see how it works mechanically. Don't be too concerned with it again. And, look at how it works at a 2 length long list, 3 length long list, and etc. And also use the table method I explained in the previous video to see a bird's eye view of how it, calls itself. Anywho, that is about it for this video, and I will catch you in the next one.